Yes. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our This is PWN webinar, Who We Are and What We Do. This is January 28th, 2026. Thank you for showing up. For showing up is what we do. I'm going to take a short moment and begin the evening with a short quote from Robert Frost. The poem is called The Darkest Evening of the Year, and it says, even the dimmest light can guide you through the darkest night, and today we'll help each other shine a little brighter. And this is important because some of us are exhausted. There's so much going on, and we can continue uplifting each other and shining our lights on each other so that we do not dim our light. So look at that beautiful picture on our page. It is a picture from, Bob, which picture is this? From which?
This is from USCHA in Washington, D.C., the U.S. Conference on HIV and AIDS this year. Well, actually
Yes, that's
last
a
year, so it was
beautiful picture.
2025. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm sure if you're here, you can recognize each other. I can recognize myself almost hidden next to Kelly at the back. Why do we call ourselves PWN USA members? It's because our members are individuals who self-identify as women living with HIV, whatever that identity looks like or means to you. And members are those who want to be part of the nationwide membership circle of PWN USA. And this includes some members of staff as well as board members. So we will go quickly into the logistics. This webinar is being recorded. If you're not comfortable, please unmute. Sorry, please put your *6. We will have time for questions at the end of the presentation, or you can ask them in the chat. Our whole team, our whole entire staff is behind the scenes. They will pick up your question and hit it head on. To have the best audio quality, please *6 to mute and unmute yourself. We have closed captioning available by selecting the CC option on the toolbar. Please let us know in the chat if you need assistance with this or other accessibility issues, and our comms team is right here, and they will assist you. Oh, I want to introduce our beautiful presenters for today. I'm going to be one of the presenters. I'll introduce myself and then pass it on to the other three. I am Grace Ruther. My pronouns are she, her. My affirmation is Queen of Canvas. I love knocking doors to get the vote out. And I'm the Positive Women's Network National Training and Leadership Development Manager. And I'll pass it on to Barb.
Hi, everyone. Barb Cardell. I use they, them pronouns. I am in Colorado. I am PWN's Leadership Development Director, and I'm so glad to be with all of you tonight. And I'll go ahead and I'll pass it on to LaDawn.
LaDawn Tate, she, hers, hers. I am a new state lead for Michigan. I am also a part of the PWN CARES Ambassador Program, and I'm a 2018 Fellow Advocacy. And I'll pass it over to Kate.
Hey everyone, I'm Katie Willingham. Pronouns are she, they, from Tuscumbia, Alabama. And I'm happy to be here. Just pass back to, who am I passing back to?
Back to me. Thank you, Katie. And I just want to thank our presenters and our members, Katie and LaDawn, for taking the initiative to show up and be part of our presentation. They have wonderful things to show you today. Okay, our next agenda is getting to know PWN USA. That's why we are here tonight. This is the agenda. Why a national network for women living with HIV? We want to know why. Who we are and what we do. I think a lot of times you assume who we are, but we want to be very clear tonight on what our mission, vision, and values stand for. We want to look at our organizational structure, and you get to meet our departmental heads and their teams. So we'll have departmental introductions. And then we'll talk about our board of directors and our co-executive directors, who we are again. We're going to remind you, and then our executive directors will lead us on the call to action. And I'll pass it on to Barb for the current moments and the high stakes involved.
Thank you, Grace. We wanted to go ahead before we dove in and talk about who PWN was, who we are, and how we do the work, to acknowledge that the time and space we are in right now is incredibly heavy, and that there is so much that is going on that is impacting each and every one of us, that we wanted to ensure that we're lifting it up in our conversation. It is everything from living under a fascist regime to these ongoing immigrant and detention centers, the ICE raids, and the kidnapping of people right off of the streets. It also is a really heavy moment in HIV advocacy spaces as well. We are facing cuts or proposed cuts to HIV funding at the federal level. We are seeing programs that save our lives, including the ADAP drug assistance program, being threatened in Florida. From the very first day that Trump came into office, he sought to erase the diversity, equity, and inclusion programs that lifted up our Black, Indigenous, and communities of color, as well as full on declaring war against transgender community members, which is unacceptable. And we push back against every single one of these erasures and diminishments at every single place. We wanted to share some photos of our PWN members who are walking the walk, talking the talk, and pushing back against these problematic programs and cuts and challenges. We've got Melanie Reese in the upper left-hand corner. That is the Save HIV funding rally in Washington, D.C. We've got Alicia Trammell McIntyre, who was at the Florida ADAP rally and spoke at the Florida ADAP rally, talking so powerfully about ADAP saving people's lives. ADAP is the AIDS Drug Assistance Program. We've got the art in the lower left-hand corner that is from our Trans Day of Power that was commissioned and designed in support of trans rights by Kaneen, one of our PWN members. And then in the lower left-hand corner, we've got Jesse, Mona, and Tana, two of our Texas chapter members who were at a protest, once again, saying that no wall is ever justified, no family separation is ever excusable, and the current regime kidnapping of people off the streets by the ICE as well as the Customs and Border Patrol agents is unacceptable. So we advocate in spaces that are both politically motivated at the national level, but also very deeply motivated at our own personal and individual level. So we just wanted to, rather than continuing on and pretending as if or acting as if things were normal, to acknowledge that things are not normal right now. And we are advocating in so many different ways, and we are empowered in so many different ways because we must be. Grace, I'll go ahead and pass it back to you to talk a little bit about PWN now.
Story time. If you love stories, you will enjoy this. Her story and their story, because we appreciate and embrace diversity and pronouns. In June 2008, 28 diverse women living with HIV flew from across the United States to a hotel called Kabuki in San Francisco for a 3-day retreat. What was the weather like that day? The weather was characterized by a dramatic shift from a typical early summer marine influence to an intense heat wave of 90 to 100 degrees. These were the 28 women who founded HIV Positive Women's Network. So why did the women go to San Francisco? One of them says, we understood that we were not in this fight alone. None of us were fighting alone. The 28 women met in San Francisco to address the critical lack of presentation and policy focus on women in the domestic HIV epidemic. If you are in Kabuki for those 3 nights, Maybe you can tell us in the chat what you had for dinner and how tense the situation was. So, launched with the support of WORLD, which was the women organized to respond to life-threatening diseases, and CHAMP, that was Community HIV/AIDS Mobilization Project. These are the two organizations that help support the Positive Women's Network to create the organization, including Julie Davids and Maura Riordan. It aimed to create a national advocacy-driven organization rooted in social justice. Positive Women's Network, the newborn baby, released their first initial action called Speaking Up and Standing for Change. The first set of policy recommendations written solely by United States women living with HIV, and they were targeting the Obama-Biden transition team. So if you look at that picture, you can see the young Wahida Shabazz El, the fiery activist, the legend. Like Wahida was at the White House telling the president and their team that we will control our own destinies. We are the Positive Women's Network, United States of America. Okay, Mr. President? That was Wahida then and the whole women's team at the White House. Next slide, please. So, why a national network of women living with HIV? I hope the story did not set you to sleep, but it was in response to the plan for the national HIV/AIDS strategy. And with over 3,000 women across the country, we feel our strength, recognize our worth, seize and create opportunities for ourselves, and to lift up all cis and transgender women, gender diverse and transgender people living with HIV. Why a national network for women living with HIV again? We mobilized to challenge systems and governments that could not, would not, or that simply were not responding to our needs. We educate ourselves, we fight for our own causes and build coalitions that strengthen our positions. And I'm gonna go briefly on my notes to why honors. And I'm gonna use my lump. Okay, 1 minute. Sorry, Bob. I had written something beautiful here. But I'm talking about the National HIV/AIDS strategy, why it was so important. Because our narratives were shifting from simply fighting a virus to empowering people to lead, shape policy, and live fully, particularly for those often left out of the national conversation. So, Bob, do you want to say anything about the NHAS?
Sure, I can just hop in and say that PWN formed as a direct, I would say, response to knowing that the United States was going to be working on the national HIV/AIDS strategy. And we realized that unless women living with HIV, and when we talk about women, we talk about cisgender and transgender women, gender diverse and transgender people living with HIV, our community was not going to be represented in the national HIV/AIDS strategy. We're not going to have a voice. It wasn't going to address our needs. We weren't going to receive any funding. And so unless we organized and formed a powerful coalesced voice, that we were not going to be a part of any conversation about HIV. And we knew that that was absolutely unacceptable. And so that's why we came together. We came together in advocacy. We came together demanding our rights and that our voices be heard. And that is the history of PWN that has continued through to today. I'll stop there.
Thank you. And we're going to move on to Katie to tell us who we are and what we do.
Hi, everyone. I'm Katie Willingham. And who we are and what we do is I love this picture and this slogan. I have always loved this slogan, sisterhood, solidarity, and action, because it so perfectly exemplifies who we are as an organization. We are a sisterhood that sticks together in solidarity. We have each other's back. We're very much a family. You know, when I joined PWN, uh, I had just recently come out 3 years prior as transgender. My family had already disowned me, and I was going through a divorce at the time when I met PWN, and at a time when I had no family in the world, PWN was more than an organization of advocacy to me. They were family. And this is very much a family, a sisterhood, um, uh, and we have each other's backs in solidarity, but it's not just, but we're not a support group, though we do support each other. We are an organization of action. We come together for action to change the policies and the governance that affect our lives. And that's I find that very powerful. So I've always loved this. I've always loved this slogan. Next slide, please. I'll go over our mission. Our mission is to prepare and involve women and people of trans experience living with HIV in all levels of policy and decision making to improve the quality of our lives. And our vision is we envision a world where women and transgender people living with HIV can live long, healthy, and dignified lives free from stigma and discrimination. Now, these are very important. We go over these before every chapter meeting because it's important to remember and to keep focused on who we are and what we do, and this is helps explain that. Next slide, please. Our values show the world who we are and the tools that we work with and the care we show for one another, both inside and outside our organization. Next slide, please. And our values are self-identity, root cause analysis, human rights, balance of power, creating equity, history, mentorship, meaningful involvement, leadership development, accountability, sustainability, and allies and accomplices. And these are our values.
Thanks, Katie. And when you talk about our values, our 12 values, when you talk about self-identity, it's about all cis and transgender women, gender diverse and transgender folks, regardless of disclosure, choices are welcome. Root cause analysis, as Katie has already said, is HIV is a symptom of injustices, not the problem. When we talk of human rights, which Katie already mentioned, says rights you hold simply by being human. Then there's balance of power, which is building community power, shifting power to people most impacted. And then we're creating equity. That's our number 5 core value. Whoever needs the most gets the most. It moves beyond equality. And then about her story, which we'll highlight on later, honoring and learning from the past, standing on the shoulders of those who preceded us and made it possible for us to be here today, and the reason why we must not give up even through this hostile climate. Then we talk about mentorship, which is building and supporting new leaders and diversity. Meaningful involvement, or MIPA and JIPA as we call it, which is engaging at all levels of decision making and never being left out of any decision that affects your health. Leadership development, which Bob heads, continually providing leadership opportunities at all levels of engagement, even if it means just making sandwiches for people who are out demonstrating or tabling. Accountability, which is commitment, follow through, and transparency. Transparency gains trust. Sustainability, which is work-life balance, compensating people, meaning you can balance your work, always reach out for help. Don't die alone. You're never alone. And then, as Katie mentioned, allies and accomplices, anyone who supports leadership by our members and believes in PWN's vision. And we'll move on now to LaDawn to continue with her story, their story.
Hi, so her story and their story. It signifies honoring the lived experience, wisdom, and history of women and gender diverse people living with HIV. It emphasized learning from the past, recognizing those who paved the way, and using personal narratives to build power, advocates for rights, and fight stigma. Now, for me, my story, I started PWN in 2018, and that was like my gateway. And it actually taught me how to be able to have conversations with my electives, be able to go out there and teach others how to advocate and how to use their voice. So I appreciate PWN for that part right there. Barb, Grace, Katie, would you all like to share?
Yeah, I can go ahead
Yes,
and
Bob
share.
next.
Oh, Grace, you go.
No, Bob next. Bob next.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah, so for me, I've been involved with PWN since 2009. And I can say that when I first came to PWN, I was not involved in the national level. I was involved in the state. And there were not other women living with HIV who were a part of any of the planning councils or who were a part of any of the work that we were doing. And so I thought I was the only one. And coming to PWN first off was the most amazing thing because I was in a room with other people who were living with HIV, who were living with the challenges that I had. And so just for the first probably 6 months, all I did was I just looked around and I thought, I'm not alone. And I would get really teary-eyed and very emotional every single time I would be with PWN members because I knew that I was developing this incredible, incredible network of people who were going to have my back, have my front, have my side. They had me in this journey that I was going through. And in 2009, that was a big thing. And here's the thing, PWN, you come for the sisterhood, you stay for the advocacy, because by gosh, as we started talking about the National HIV/AIDS strategy, we started talking about structural barriers that were keeping people out of care. We were talking about people speaking up for us in meetings who didn't look like us. I mean, I tell you, one more white cisgender man saying that he could tell me what I needed for HIV services was not acceptable. And so that's what I came for. I came for the sisterhood, and boy, I stayed for the advocacy and the amplification and the lifting up of my voice. It has been an amazing journey, and I am so grateful for PWN for every single lesson, every single day that I have not felt like I've had to do this struggle alone. That's what PWN means to me. And I'll pass. Katie, do you want to go next?
Absolutely, I can go. Um, as I said, I mean, I joined PWN in 2016, and as I said, when I when I first met PWN, I was going through a bad time in my life, and I thought to myself, this is really a bad time for me to be here right now. This is a bad time in my life for me to be here. But I was taken in and accepted from day one, and it was, just being accepted by everyone was so uplifting and healing for me, and it really affected me. And so, I wanted to learn more about this organization, and uh, I learned the incredible things that the women were doing. Because, see, I didn't know anything about advocacy up until this point. I've been diagnosed for 15 years, but didn't know anything about advocacy. I didn't know about U equals U. I didn't even know that I wasn't going to die imminently yet. Um, I was really uneducated at the time, and I've learned so much through PWN. I've gained so much through the sisterhood, um, and really, it's really changed my life. Um, and it's it's not just the community, but also the sense of accomplishment that you can do something to make change. And before, I used to wish I could do something to make change, but I thought all I had was my vote. Now I have people behind me. Now I have someone with me. I'm not just one. I'm many. I'm not alone, as Barb said, and I find that very powerful and comforting.
Amen, Katie. Thank you, Katie and Barb. Grace, would you like to share a little?
Um, no, it was just the
Okay.
three of you sharing. But
Okay.
if you could continue the Dawn by telling us how we honor and learn from the past, build collective power and authenticity by some of the ways we celebrate our members.
Oh, most definitely. So we do celebrate our members by hold on, I'm sorry, my bad, my bad. Okay, so we do celebrate and honor Black women. We do our Shero of the Month. Pretty much send in your nominations and why you think they should be the Shero of the Month. And stay tuned because sometime your person get chosen. Just got to keep watching to see when they're going to get chosen. We do a mutual aid fund that pretty much helps if you need any type of support, as far as, financial wise. It's a fund right there. Direct compensation for speaking, training, and participating in advisory boards. We also have our PWN Ambassador Program, which I am a part of, and we are learning how to empower our community the best way as possible, right? And then we have our Policy Fellowship Program, and I really encourage you, if you have not been through it, you really want to check it out because that is how my advocacy got started. Can we go to the next slide? So now we're going to talk about meaningful involvement. Okay. So meaningful and intentional involvement of people living with HIV. That must be a cornerstone to all advocacy, all programming, and policy development. Rooted in the Denver Principle, it expands to include the most impacted communities, including transgender folks, women, youth, immigrants, sex workers, and so many others. Nothing about us without us. If you aren't at the table, then you're on the menu. So that means you need to make sure that you are at the table, okay? They can't do anything without us, okay? MIPA, meaningful involvement of people living with HIV. That is very important, and I need that you all to be able to take away that because they can't make decisions. They can't do anything without us, okay? And PWN ensures that we are prepared to be at the table, even leading the conversation and making critical decisions. So that's why it's important, and that's why PWN is important also. Can we go to the next slide? So this right here is where we talk about self-identity, how we see ourselves, including gender identifying, and even our HIV disclosure choices. We acknowledge the disclosure is complicated and a personal decision, right? At PWN, we believe that all women living with HIV can be leaders, regardless of their disclosure choices. Disclosure is a continuum from telling no one's to sharing openly to the world. Most women living with HIV travel along the spectrum in their daily lives and aren't locked into one place. We must demand the opportunity to exist along disclosure spectrum. Our disclosure is our choice. No one should be able to take this away from us. As leaders living with HIV, we accept that stigma and discriminations are real in our lives. Regardless of personal disclosure decisions, we defend the right for people living with HIV to decide what is true for their lives. And thank you, and we're going to pass it over to Barb.
Bob, you're next.
On mute.
Yes, thank you so much. So we have talked a little bit about our mission and our vision and our values, and lifted up 3 of our values in particular to talk about and to give a little bit more detail. I want to go ahead and introduce to you our PWN affirming statements. These are statements that the staff and members and the board have written and recommend. We have these at the beginning of every training, every conversation, every national membership call, because it is so important for us to lift up the collective liberation of our movement. We talk about this. We say, until we all come along, we are not any of us going to live well and healthy lives. And so when we're talking about liberation and liberation within our movement spaces, we are talking about racial justice. We're talking about trans liberation. And one of the things that we need to do is to make sure that our spaces are safe for folks who are gender diverse, who are transgender. And so we have introduced our PWN affirming statement around pronouns. And this is something that we ask all of our members, all of our chapters to lift up and to uphold. So we strive to provide a safer space for all of our members, knowing that not every space is safe for everyone. And that we ask that people put their name, their pronouns, and where you live in the chat. The reason why we put pronouns in is so that we're not making assumptions about what you look like and what pronouns you choose to identify with. We honor how people are showing up and how they identify themselves. We encourage people to put their name and their affirming titles in the chat. And so if you choose to be called goddess or queen, and that is the way you describe yourself, that's your affirming statement, put that in as well as your pronoun. Folks are encouraged but not required to list their pronouns. Sometimes for people it is complicated and they just want to be named, use their name. We respect that. We respect however people want to identify themselves, but it is required that people in PWN spaces utilize the name and the pronouns that people use to identify themselves. That is about respect. That is about safety, and that is about acknowledging that when we're talking about gender identity, when we're talking about pronouns, that people are choosing for themselves and that it's complicated. And I'll go ahead and I'll pass it back to Grace for the next affirming statement.
Thank you, Bob. So PWN demonstrates our commitment to identifying and dismantling racism and addressing anti or anti-Blackness by including this statement as we begin to do all of our work. Our PWN affirming statement is on racial justice. It says that PWN is committed to creating brave and affirming spaces where Black, Indigenous, and people of color, also known as BIPOC, are centered, valued, and respected. In addition, we are also committed to upholding these values in all of the spaces that we occupy. We acknowledge the deep-rooted impact of racism and white supremacy in society and in the HIV movement. We will center the lived experience, power, wisdom, and leadership of BIPOC, folks by actively listening, honoring each other's diverse identities, and challenging all forms of anti-Blackness and racism in real time. And I'll pass it back to Bob.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, my computer is a little slow unmuting here, but I'm gonna go ahead. So our structure that we have at PWN, we know that sometimes we're so busy doing the work that we actually haven't stopped to both introduce ourselves, but also to let you know how PWN fits together. So here's our structure. PWN is formed by and of our members. First and foremost, we are a national membership organization that is led by and for cis and transgender women, gender diverse and transgender folks. That is the very beginning of who we are. That's how we formed, and that is the basis for everything that we do. From our membership, our board of directors are people who have said that they are interested in being part of the leadership of PWN. They have applied, and we have an incredible board of amazing folks. And we'll go ahead and talk a little bit more about them in a moment. But all of our board are 100% from our membership. So everyone on our board identifies as a cis or transgender woman, gender diverse or transgender person who is living with HIV. So when we talk about lifting up and honoring lived experience, this is what we mean. We walk the talk, we walk the walk, we talk the talk, and we make sure that we are representative in all of the ways. Our co-executive directors are women who are living with HIV, and we'll actually get to hear from Ebony in a moment about being a co-executive director. We have Marnina Miller and Ebony Turk, who are PWN co-executive directors. They are also from our membership representing us. The PWN staff is divided into these 5 departments. We've got the organizing department, which has member engagement as well as the voter engagement. We have policy, we've got communications, we've got leadership development and training, and we have finance and operations. And those are all of the departments that we have within PWN that moves all of the work that we have. Within organizing, they actually work with our membership. So you can see we got members at the start and in the support parts as well for our organizing. And so within the organizing department, they work with our members at large. That's on national membership calls and sister circle and so many other things. We have chapters, we've got 8 chapters. And then we also have state leads who are in departments that do not have our chapters. And so this is how PWN is structured, how we do our work, and how we organize all of the work that we do. So we have a lot of amazing things that we are able to pull together. And we're going to go ahead now and we're going to meet some of the departments. We're going to meet the staff from the departments, and we will go ahead and start off. Crystal, do you mind actually going first with the organizing department? And I know you wanted to share your screen to show some pictures, and we've got time for that because we're actually running a little bit ahead.
Okay, cool. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I can't even see myself. Hold on, let me find my screen. Okay. Barb, do you want me to share my screen?
Yeah, why don't you do that? I'll go ahead and stop sharing. Look at all these amazing people we have on here. Holy cow. Just take a moment, basking in all that glory.
I know, beautiful. This is so beautiful. I'm really excited to be here with y'all and listen to our amazing history and share a little bit about who we are as PWN, and the organizing team. So my name is Crystal. I use she, her pronouns. And I live in Houston, Texas. I come into this work as an accomplice. So I was brought in, and I come from a community of women living with HIV. Some you may know, like Vanita Ray, who the first time that it really clicked with me when she talked about how HIV is a racial justice issue. I had never heard HIV or someone talk about HIV in that way. And this was like years ago, maybe 2016 or something like that. And she brought me into a community, more deeply connected community of women living with HIV. So I come from I organize with the Texas chapter here in Houston, in the greater Houston area. So you might know some folks like Jessie Mona, Tana, Angela. So I come into this work through a community of women living with HIV who have continuously shown me what it means to be bold and powerful. And I really appreciate y'all for all that you are and all that you do. I have been with the organizing team since I think 2021. And I remember when Vanita called me and she was like, "Why don't you come to work for PWN?" I was like, "Wait, why are you calling me? You got like a deep bench of people." I was like, "Ebony is there. So many people that I respect are here and are a part of PWN. So when you all see us, always know that PWN is your home. PWN was created for you. And even as an accomplice, this is yours." On the screen, you can see the organizing team. You have myself, Antoinette, who's from Georgia. She lives in Georgia. And you have Tati or Tatiana. Tati is our voter engagement manager, and Antoinette is our national field organizer. The three of us are a small but mighty team, and we are here to carry out the mission of PWN. PWN was built to organize women living with HIV. And when we say organize, we're talking about making sure women living with HIV, their voices are heard, highlighted, they are leading, and there are shifts and changes and wins in their communities so that they can live in communities and in a world where women living with HIV can live free from stigma and discrimination. So we are here. We work mostly with members, more closely with members. So any of you all on the call may know us either from a sister circle or the state lead program, or from our chapters or from the national membership call. But we are really here to connect our members with the things that we are trying to do at PWN. I have some pictures so y'all can see what that looks like in action. But some of these pictures you might notice yourself or somebody you know. A lot of times when people are asking like, "What do y'all do?" or trying to figure out if you would fit in PWN, the answer is there's room and space for everybody. So you'll see in these pictures, you'll see um, people speaking at City Hall, or you'll see people speaking at the State House or the Capitol or in DC. You'll also see us with our kids and celebrating birthdays, because organizing is not always about advocacy in those big, powerful moments. It's about building community and building trust. The great Wahida used to say, "We move at the speed of trust." So you'll see us building community in those moments where we can connect. You'll also see us with our kids and our families. We come to this work in our full selves, as our full selves, unapologetically. We have like baby organizers and children of the movement. that we are raising. And we are raising another generation with the vision and the principles that PWN has already shared with you. A commitment to racial justice and social justice and trans liberation and Black liberation. That's who we are. That's our values. And it is a privilege and our duty to be in this country in this moment, really making sure we're continuing to have and hold relationships where we can be unapologetic, no matter where you come from, no matter your education level, no matter who you love or what you look like. We do not care. Because we understand the people. The power is within the people. So when you ask what do we do? There's not one thing I would say. There's a picture scroll that I would love to share with y'all the link so you can look at it on your own, but there are so many things that you can see that we do. I don't know if this is working. I think it's trying to work. I'm gonna just scroll this way, but I'll drop this link so you can just take a look at all the things. And something I always like to say is if there's something that you are thinking about doing or curious about doing or want to do it, but you're a little afraid, PWN is the best place to start because you will be held, you will be challenged, and this is a place where you can be, learn, and grow. And then as you grow, the expectation is that you bring someone else with you and help them grow too. So I'll pause there, y'all. Always willing to answer questions, but especially if you have questions about the state lead program, our chapters, a lot of times during election season, you'll hear us talking about voter engagement. Because even though voting is not the only way to win or build power, it's like the biggest group activity we do in the country. It is a tool that is there, and we will continue to use it because people living with HIV are a powerful voting bloc in the country that is not always tapped into. So we will continue to use that as a tool. But if you have any questions about our chapters, state leads, national membership call. We would love to see y'all on the national membership call or even Sister Circle. Please, you can put it in the chat, reach out to me, Antoinette, or Tati, and then we'll be happy to like connect or answer any questions. So I'll pause and then I'll turn it back over to Amwa and Barb.
Barb, you can take it.
Yep, I was just going to go ahead and say if there is anyone who has a question for Crystal, we've got a minute or two. And so if you want to come off a mute or raise your hand, feel free to go ahead and ask a question. All right, Crystal, will you put your email in the chat for folks? Just in case people are on and they're new and you want to reach out to one of the staff at PWN, our emails are really easy. It's just our first name at pwn-usa.org. And so if you know one of our emails, you know all of our emails. You can go ahead and reach out to us because we would love to connect with you and talk to you more about any of the programs or any of the advocacy efforts, kind of anything. We just would love to reach out and talk to you. That's the reality of it. So thank you, Crystal, for talking about the really exciting work that the organizing department does, both with member engagement and voter engagement. It is a powerful, powerful piece of the work that we do. And always. We love sharing the photos because it is a great way to see and to celebrate all of the work that we've done. And I just have to say, looking at that camera roll, Crystal, I have to say, we are a pretty good looking crew, aren't we? I look at some of these things like Marnina, who went to Philadelphia for World AIDS Day. Marnina, our co-executive director, went to Philadelphia for World AIDS Day, dressed up in this red dress that was spectacular and just showed how PWN does things. So that's the way we roll, y'all. And I'm just gonna, if you know me, you know that I brag on us every single time. And I just had to mention that because yes, indeed, we are a good looking crew. So we're going to go back to doing our department updates and introductions, really. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pass it to Kelly Flannery. Kelly, thank you so much for joining us. We're really glad you're here. And we're going to ask you to talk about the policy department. And hang on a sec, I'm going to get my screen share going so that we can see once again. There we go. There's the policy department. And Kelly, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Barb. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, wonderful. Hi everyone. Okay, so I have a couple of things that I wanted to start us off with impromptu. One, I love that I'm going after organizing. I joined PWN as a staff member in 2018. I am an ally and accomplice with PWN. And when I joined, Wahida the legend was on staff, and we used to have a porganizing call. So that is policy and organizing, because Wahida believed that policy and organizing were inseparable from each other, that we had to constantly work together. So the fact that I'm going after Crystal just feels like it was meant to be. I am joining you from my car right now, and that is because I am out and about doing what is the mixture of policy and organizing. And in that vein, I wanted to start us out by saying abolish ICE, free Palestine, Black liberation and trans liberation are inseparable, are absolutely the base and the foundation of our collective liberation, because no one is free until we all are free. So I wanted to start us off there and say hello. My name is Kelly. I use she or they pronouns. I am the policy director at PWN, and I'm really happy to be with you today. I wanted to introduce you to our policy team, let you know a little bit about what we do in the policy department, and pass it off to any questions or thoughts that folks might have. I'm seeing already that we have some policy fellows on the call. I see that we have some presenters who presented on policy webinars on the call. So welcome. To start us off with a bit of who is who. If you go from left to right, the first person on your screen is Helena Hiley. She, her pronouns. Helena is our reproductive justice legal fellow. Helena is amazing. She's with PWN for this year from September to September, and she primarily helps to support our Alabama and Colorado chapters. She also runs the PWN Policy Fellowship with Meta and Myra, who I'm hoping folks on this call know. They are our co-coordinators. They are the folks who actually run it, and Helena is the one who supports them in the background for whatever is needed. Next up is Elena Ferguson. She, her pronouns. Elena is our policy specialist. She helps to coordinate the entire Health Not Prisons collective, which I'll talk about on the next slide a little bit. Elena is also lives in Texas and helps to support our Texas chapter, including the Texas Strike Force, and generally is kind of like the brilliant abolitionist on the team. She's constantly pulling us into intersectional movements, to the movement to end the family policing, to birth justice. She is out there and kind of pulling PWN into the spaces that we need to be in. Next up is Sally Thomas. She, her, our decrim specialist extraordinaire. So Sally really focuses on ending HIV criminalizations and the kinds of criminalization that disproportionately impact women living with HIV. So things like the criminalization of drug use, the criminalization of sex work, the criminalization of walking while trans. Sally helps to support our Louisiana and South Carolina chapters. She's also in New York, so she's just out there every day with our New York chapter as well. And I am Kelly Flannery. I use she or they pronouns. I'm the policy director at PWN. I do whatever I can. I do live in Pennsylvania, and so I support our Pennsylvania chapter as much as possible. And I kind of just try to have my fingers in a bunch of different things. Yeah, I'll stop there. And I will say, next slide, please. All right. So who is the policy department? The policy department, which I prefer to call us the policy team, we really envision a world in which both within PWN, within the HIV movement, and in decision-making spaces across the US, our members, transgender and cisgender women, gender diverse people, transgender people living with HIV, especially folks who are queer and trans, Black and brown from the US South, will have the skills and expertise to develop, lead, move, and win on the policy priorities, issues, strategies, and tactics that are important to our base. And when I say the strategies and tactics important to our base, I mean the kinds of policies that are grounded in reproductive justice, racial justice, and gender justice. Our purpose, our very reason for existing as a policy team is to ensure that you, our PWN members, have the tool and resources to build power within your communities, to craft and influence policies with confidence, and to dismantle, transform, and create systems in alignment with reproductive justice, racial justice, and gender justice. So to break that down a little bit and to make it as simple as possible, the reason we're here is to support your vision of the future, to support your vision of justice, of liberation, and to figure out how, in the meantime, while we're living in a world that is full of violence and oppression, how we can do harm reduction to make sure that you're able to live healthy, full, dignified lives. Some of the work that we do, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the main things that we do. Some of the things that I'm most excited about. So first up is the PWN Policy Fellowship. So if you look in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see a list of training series that we have to offer. The next one that's coming up is actually February 19th, and it's going to be conducting effective meetings with decision makers. I hope you'll come. I actually didn't grab the link, but if someone who's on could grab the link and share the Mobilize, that would be really appreciated. The PWN Policy Fellowship is a year-long fellowship, and we believe in reproductive justice, so our fellows are compensated with a monthly stipend for their time. It's a year-long fellowship where we spend month after month providing the kinds of skills, trainings, skill buildings that women living with HIV need in order to make your policy priorities, make the world that you envision a reality. We do about 9 months worth of trainings, but in the middle of that, about 6 months before the program ends, so we're in it right now, we also have a portion called a policy fellowship, where fellows actually pair with other organizations that they want to work with, like, for example, Melanie's organization. Melanie is a host organization, in order to implement a policy project that they want to see, right? The fellows get to choose what their policy project is. They tell us the change that they want to make, and then have about 6 months to make it happen. And then at the end of those 6 months, we have a graduation, we have a celebration, and I hope you will put it on your calendar because this year's graduation is January, February, March, April, May, June 25th, 2026. So that's when we kind of all come together. We hear about what the fellows have achieved and we celebrate them. It's honestly when I came into PWN, I was a fellow myself and I got to help coordinate the fellowship. It is probably my favorite thing that the policy team runs. We get to spend a lot of time with the policy fellows and we get to learn a lot about your local political environments and what needs to change to more fully respect the human rights of women living with HIV in your community, in your state, across the US. It's really badass and super transformative. Some other things that I wanted to pull out here that we do is that we also do work as closely as we can with the organizing team to support the PWN chapters through things like we work together on advocacy days to help have meetings with lawmakers, to do in-district organizing when you actually work in your local area to meet with lawmakers or maybe to yell at lawmakers. I don't know, you do what you need to do. You know your lawmakers. And we support as like a policy support in voter engagement campaigns. So whatever it is that's policy forward that is needed for voter engagement campaigns, we do our best to throw down and make it happen, whether it's an FAQ or coming in to just talk about some tricky things that maybe folks are hearing on the doors or on the phones. Some other things that we do is we work in coalition. So policy work is not something that any one person, that any one organization can do by ourselves. It's something that needs to happen in deep collaboration with trusted partners. To that end, PWN helped to form the Health Not Prisons Collective. And the Health Not Prisons Collective is a collective of 5 partner organizations who've been working to end HIV criminalization for a really long time together. And we then formalized that partnership, grounded in abolition, grounded in the lived experience of people living with HIV, grounded in Black liberation and trans liberation. We move forward with a vision for how to end the various ways that people living with HIV are criminalized and harmed by the state. We also work on federal issues, oftentimes in deep collaboration through things like the Save HIV funding campaign. Has anyone heard of the Save HIV funding campaign? I see some folks on. They largely work to try to protect HIV funding as much as possible. So we work with them. We attend meetings with federal lawmakers. We learn about what's at stake in the kind of federal fight and how the federal fight really trickles down to impact actual like programs that are able to be offered on the state and local level. We work with the U.S. People Living with HIV Caucus. We're actually an anchor network, the U.S. People Living with HIV Caucus. And we have regular meetings where we really deeply strategize on policy advocacy. So we think about what are the actual threats that are facing people living with HIV today, and how do we work together as a collective of networks led by and for people living with HIV to develop strategies, to develop relationships that can meaningfully change the lived experience of people living with HIV in a way that's led by people living with HIV. We also just kind of like produce collateral to keep folks up to date with things that are changing, right? So like you all have probably heard about the ADAP situation in Florida, right? There is currently the Florida Department of Health has caused an ADAP crisis. I want to be very clear about this. It didn't come out of nowhere. It wasn't because it was demanded. The Department of Health caused this crisis by unilaterally deciding to make restrictions on ADAP eligibility. This is a situation that is moving so quickly. Things change every single day. And we as the policy team do our very best to stay on top of what's going on and to produce things that help make it clearer when things are changing, and to produce things like, I don't know, if you need to talk to your lawmaker to make sure that your ADAP program isn't doing the same thing, or you need to talk to your health department. We try our best to produce things that you can use in your daily life to advocate for the programs that you need to survive and thrive. And one of the ways that we do this, some of the collateral we produce is something called the monthly policy update. Helena does this. It's a really beautiful recap of, for example, a deep dive into one of the hottest topics of the month. And then we also give kind of like a brief description of some of the other relevant policy updates in alignment with our PWN policy agenda. Something else we produce is the Health Not Prisons Dispatch, where we talk about intersectional decriminalization issues that are coming up. So yeah, I'm going to pause there because I feel like I've said a lot. We are your policy department. We do a lot of different things. When we're doing the things that we need to do the best, it's when we're serving PWN members in ways that you all need to do the wonderful, amazing, and powerful advocacy that you do every single day to change the world.
Thank you, Kelly. And I don't know if you were able to see all of the hearts that were just hearts and the fire that was being offered up to you as you were talking about all the incredible work that the policy folks do. Really outstanding. And thank you so much for that overview of it. We're going to go ahead and next go to Alex, who is with our communications department. And Alex, are you ready to talk to us a little bit about communications?
Yeah, I'm here. Thanks, Barb. I don't know how I'm supposed to follow up Kelly's amazing portion of this presentation, but I'll try my best. My name is Alex. I use they, them, AA pronouns. I'm the communications assistant. and I am one half of our comms department, our comms dynamic duo. Our director of communications is Victoria, but she's unable to be here, so I'm stepping in to talk to you a little bit about what we do and how we work with our members. You can go to the next slide. Okay, thank you. So our main focus as a team is to uplift the voices, stories, and successes of our membership. So we are the cheerleaders. We are celebrating all the amazing work that our members do. We are uplifting your stories and your voices in the media and also on our platforms. Some of the things that we do involve social media. We also honor awareness days throughout the year, making sure that our members see that we are acknowledging and honoring these days that are meant to talk about important issues for our communities and make sure that our communities feel seen and heard and acknowledged on these very important days. We have a PWN Speaks blog where our members share their stories and their experiences. This can range from things from attending, AIDS Watch, or just talking about how they navigate disclosure. Um, that's really a space for our members to share their voices with the world. Another thing that we do is helping our members connect to the media, providing them support and preparing them to talk to news outlets, to feel confident in who they are and sharing their stories. Another thing that we support with is merch. So if you've ever been to any of the conferences, you've probably gotten a PWN pin. We help design all of our cute little t-shirts that you see around. I'm actually wearing one of our hoodies right now, PWN hoodie, representing Barb's got one too. So we support doing our merch. Another thing that we do is design support. So we help our members create flyers and graphics and different things for their chapter needs or their advocacy needs, creating one-pagers, creating, contact cards, all kinds of different things to help our members do the work that they're doing. Another thing that we do is we do various communications trainings. So we have a training series that's on YouTube currently talking about what comms is, talking about how to create engaging social media content, how to craft a story, different things like that, because we are trying our best to equip our members with the skills that they need to to connect with the world and provide their perspective. Another big thing that our comms team does is helping to craft a public narrative that is true to the experiences of our members. And so we do that by pitching stories and helping our members provide them a platform to speak about the things that are most important to them. One program that we've recently done is our comms baddies. So we recruited 4 members who live in different states where our chapters are located, and we brought them on to work with our team. We provided them training and support to help them uh, provide communication support for their voter engagement campaigns that they ran in their states. So that was a recent program that we did that we're, considering doing in the future. So if there's anything that you might be interested in, learning more about communications and how to have your voice heard, that's something that we're always looking to collaborate with you on. Some other ways that we have opportunities for our members to get involved is you can write for our PWN Speaks blog. You can collaborate with us to develop social media content, or you can share stories or advocacy updates that we can include in our monthly newsletters. So at the bottom here is our communications email. So if you have any further questions, if you have anything that you want to work with us on, or you need support, maybe if you have an upcoming interview, or you want to know how to develop some kind of collateral or design, anything like that, we're always here to support our members and connect with you. So our email is down there for you to reach out to us at any time. And I'll also drop a link to our form So you can sign up for our email updates so that you can stay connected to PWN in all the ways that we are moving. Does anyone have any questions for me? Thank you, and I'll pass back to our lovely facilitators.
Yep, comes back to me. Thank you so much, Alex. And so we're going to end. Actually, we've got two more departments we want to talk to you about. First up is leadership development, training, and technical assistance. And you can see that Omwa, Grace, and I are in the leadership development department. And what we do is we make sure that our members are prepared to be in any space that they want to be, that they feel like they need to be in. This is a pretty, looks like, sorry, this is a fairly blurry picture. I apologize. So obviously we are not the picture takers. No, we are the leadership development folks. And what we do in many ways is to support our members in anything they want to do. So we help with scholarship applications. We help with abstracts for workshops. We have been able to bring many of our members to a number of conferences as presenters and help them feel prepared for it. The reason why I put up, this is the HINAC, which is HIV is Not a Crime conference that was held summer of last year. I put that up because we were able to have 7 workshops that were led by our members. So again, when we go back to why PWN was founded and why we're here, what motivates us, this is it. This is that our members are prepared and ready to share what is important to them, the work that they've been doing, and to sit in all advocacy spaces feeling empowered, knowing that we have to be there, that our voices matter, and that if anyone tells us that we're not important, that we know that they're just trying to diminish our voice and that we are not going to take that. We're not going to allow that to happen. So through leadership development, we do things like help you become familiar with PWN, the national group. Like a lot of times people don't understand how the departments all connect. And as you can see, we collaborate across all of our departments in many ways around just about every single program that we do. We also go ahead and we do emerging issue trainings. So we held a training last week where we supported advocates in Florida to discuss the egregious cuts that the Florida Health Department is proposing to their state AIDS drug assistance program and to help lift up the voices of those state advocates. We have the PWN Cares Ambassador Training Program, which LaDawn was our very, very first ambassador to graduate. And we're so proud of her and really grateful to be working with her. We have our technology training that we're going to get ready to start because we know that technology is a barrier for some people, especially when we're all in this Zoomscape all of the time. And so we'll go ahead and we will have these, I think they're going to be a couple of times a month workshops where we're going to be able to learn more about technology and how we can show up in spaces that we really need to be in to have our voices heard. And we're working on our PWN Leadership Training Academy, of which this session here is going to be one of our very first offerings because we want people to know who PWN is and then how we sprout off and help develop our leaders. And so that's the leadership development department. We also, as we said, do trainings and we do technical assistance. It's something that a lot of times organizations that are not run or that don't have meaningful involvement of people living with HIV oftentimes will ask us to come in and do trainings or to come in and speak to people from the perspective of women, gender diverse, and transgender people living with HIV. And so we'll go ahead and we'll do that. But we're going to actually make them pay us because we know that our subject matter expertise as people who have survived and are thriving with HIV is hard fought, hard won, and that it deserves to be compensated. And so that's the department that we have here. And so I would kind of say, just as an overview for us, if you want to be somewhere and you don't feel like you're prepared, or if you need some support or you need some cheerleading, that's what we do best. Grace and I are world-class cheerleaders because we know that the voices of our members are so powerful and need to be in every space. Grace, I'm going to go ahead and see, is there anything else you wanted to add to talking about our department?
No, you've covered everything. Thank you.
All right, wonderful. Wonderful. So yes, you let us know how we can cheerlead for you and help prepare you. And then last but certainly not least, this is the department that literally holds everything together, and that is Aisha Scott and Jamel Ware, who are our finance and operations department, and they make sure that the lights stay on, that we all have Zoom accounts that we're able to use, that the slides work. They basically make sure that the money happens. And that is, as we said, the glue that holds us all together. So they're not able to be on today, but we certainly wanted to lift them up and to acknowledge that they are a very, very important department within PWN. So, Grace, I'm going to turn it over to you next to talk about who we are. We've talked about our PWN members and we talked about allies. Together for us, would you?
Thanks, Bob. So before we call in our executive director to give a call to action, we're going to ask ourselves, who are our people? You cannot move alone. Our people are members at large. They're made up of cis and trans women, gender diverse, and transgender folks living with HIV. We also have our chapters that are really important and that are our pillars. These are statewide or local groups led by Positive Women Network members operating to build power at the regional level. We have our state leads. We uplift you all our state leads, members acting as contact and coordinators for states without chapters. And then we have our allies and accomplices, everyone who supports PWN, advancing our agenda and throwing down on our advocacy. And then we're going to move on to our board of directors. This leadership team brings deep expertise in HIV advocacy, gender/racial justice and policy, ensuring lived experience is central to PWN work. So we have 100% of our board are women, cis and trans and gender diverse people living with HIV from across the country. Some of them are those we said at the beginning met at the Kabuka Hotel in San Francisco, June 2008. We specifically recruit Black, Latine, youth, mothers, and Southerners. They make great soul food. We make decisions using a modified consensus centering those impacted. Back to you, Bob.
Thank you, Grace. I'm going to go ahead and I am going to pass it next to Ebony Turk, who is one of our PWN co-EDs, to talk about why PWN structure with our co-EDs is so special. And then Ebony's going to lead us to a call to action. And we are nearly at the end of our time together. So Ebony, why don't you go ahead and tie it all up in a neat package for us?
It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love and protect one another. We have nothing to lose but our chains. It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. It is our duty to love and protect one another. We have nothing to lose but our chains. For us at PWN, fighting doesn't always look like marching in the streets. Sometimes it looks like telling the truth. Sometimes it looks like surviving the systems that were never built for us in the first place. Sometimes it looks like choosing community over silence. And loving and protecting one another is our strategy. We love each other fiercely. And I want to start by saying I love each and every one of you on this call today. And I am so grateful for each and every one of you. My name is Ebony Turk. My pronouns are she and her. I am one of the newest co-executive directors of Positive Women's Network USA, and I serve alongside my sister, Marnina Miller. I love you too, Miss Wanda. I am grateful to be here with you. And Leadership PWN style. I think my journey and Marnina's journey shows leadership PWN style. I have been a member of PWN, I want to say, I'm going to safely say since maybe 2013. I started by watching the fiery Wahida Shabazz L and the peaceful and grounded Vanessa Johnson roam these internet streets. And I used to say, oh my God, they look so powerful. And then one day that fiery little woman, Wahida, blew through Chicago and she sparked a fire in me that hasn't went out yet. And I said, I have to be a part of this movement. And I joined, I watched, I participated in meetings. They asked me to speak and I was scared out my boots, but they helped me and they supported me and I did it and I did it some more and I did it again and now they can't shut me up. So, um I went on to join the board and learned how to do that because when I joined, I really didn't know what it was, but they taught me. PWN taught me. As a matter of fact, Barb was the board chair at that time. um, and then I went on to join the staff as the first membership engagement coordinator. And from there, I met many of you that I didn't know, and we started organizing together. And then I got a promotion to the national field organizer. And that was amazing. And that's when we started doing integrated voter engagement work. And from there, I I learned leadership so well that I decided that I wanted to start leading my own company. And I did. I stepped away and I started my own consulting firm. And it was amazing. It PWN's leadership style led me to that, helped me be able to do that for myself. I got back on the board because I can't stay away from PWN because it's my family, it's my home, it is my, um, anywhere I go in this world, I have a sister in the state because and I share world. So anywhere I go in this US of I have a sister in the state that I can always call up and go to dinner or whatever, and they're gonna always be willing. But we also have sisters around the world because I've had sisters in other countries um, reach out and say, oh, you're here? Let's do it. That is the most powerful thing in the world. So I love PWN. And now, something I never thought I would be doing, I'm the co executive director of PWN. Something I kind of ran from because I was like, I don't want to do it. But now I'm doing it. And why am I doing it? I'm doing it because I love PWN. I'm doing it because I know what PWN is capable of. I'm doing it because I want to see other sisters continue to be embraced by PWN, continue to be educated by PWN, continue to fight with PWN. Let us fight with you. I'm doing it because we have to love and support one another. Next slide. So, calling us to action. Join us. If you are new here, welcome. I hope you've seen something that you like. Don't be afraid by all of the advocacy talk because back in the day when I first joined, I was a little bit afraid, but it all subsided. As I got into it and as I got used to it, I found out that there was a place for me no matter what space I was, where I was in my life. As a matter of fact, I've gotten so comfortable with talking about and advocating for people living with HIV that sometimes, and please forgive me, sometimes I forget I'm even HIV positive. I should have told y'all I've been living with HIV for 25 years now, because this 2026. So let's say 24 years. I've been living with HIV for 24 years. And when I first was diagnosed, I was engulfed with stigma. I didn't want to see a place that said HIV on it. I didn't want to go into a building that had HIV on it. Stigma ran me. But now I I just live my life and I enjoy my life. And part of that is this sisterhood. A big part of that is this sisterhood that we have within PWN because as people said earlier, we don't only fight with the not with each other. I mean, sometimes we do fight with each other, but we fight with the other people. We fight for a policy and our rights. And we don't only do that. We celebrate each other. We celebrate successes. We celebrate wins. We celebrate birthdays. We just celebrate life. And that is what I needed in my life to understand that I wasn't alone. So, if you are here and you are new and you've never heard or met or even known anything we've done, clearly you've heard of us because you're here. But join us. Don't be afraid. There's nothing to be afraid of. We will accept you where you are. We will go as slow or as fast as you want us to go, or you allow us to go. Um, if you are a member or a potential member, you can join us on our national membership call on February 13th. And if you say, slow down, Ebony, I'm not there yet. I just need a little bit of support. That's cool too, because we have a PWN Care Sister Circle, and that meets every Thursday. And the link will be in the comments, and you can sign up and you can just join the Sister Circle and get the support you need. None of this rah-rah advocacy stuff if you don't want it. We got it, and we'll be here when you're ready. Next slide. I think that's it for me. But I hope to see some of you, some new faces. I hope to experience some of your magic because we all have magic. And we need each other in order to continue through this journey. Thank you.
Powerful, Ebony. Thank you always. We must love each other. We have nothing to lose but our chains. That right there. Right there. So thank you, everyone. We're at the end of this is PWN, who we are and what we do session. I'm going to ask everybody if you could take a minute or two to fill out the survey. We want to encourage everybody to fill out the survey and tell us how we did, what other topics you might be interested in learning about. And we have a raffle for everyone who has filled out a survey. It's a $20 gift card for folks that fill it out, and we'll just draw one person's name from everybody who completed the survey. So we're going to give you a minute so you can go ahead and either scan the QR code or you can click on the link that is in the chat that is there. I want to thank so much my fellow presenters. Grace, thank you always for bringing such beautiful skills. LaDawn and Katie, who are from our membership. I mean, when we talk about we lift up our members, have them lead. Katie is a co-chair at PWN Alabama. LaDawn is a state lead and is one of our PWN Cares ambassadors. And so this is the kind of advocacy and engagement that we lift each other up for. I'm with Ebony. I sort of forget to introduce myself. I have been living with HIV for 35 years now. And so as we talk about PWN being led by and for us, this is exactly what we mean. So thank you everyone for joining us today. Please take a minute and fill out the survey and let us know how we did. And otherwise, if there is anyone who has any questions or any comments, we can go ahead and leave the space open for a little bit and we can answer any questions or just say hey and see how everybody's doing. I'm going to go ahead and stop our recording.